In this video, we're going to make an undated calendar. So I have an example of a calendar right here. It's for 2020. I'm going to try to duplicate this in PowerPoint. There are a couple things that we do need to talk about. First of all, when we make a table, it's not going to end up being this small. So we're probably going to end up with 2 pages for our calendar. Another thing about 2020 is that there are 2 months that have 6 weeks in them. And so when I make my calendar, especially if this may be used in 2020, I'm going to have 6 weeks in every single one, which is no problem. So let's make our first month. So let's look at our rows. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and we're going to add one more, which is 8. And we have 7 columns. So we're going to go to Insert, Table. We're going to go over to 7, maybe. And then we're going to go down to 8. And here's the basic setup for our month. The next thing that we're going to do is, we don't have to do this right now, but I kind of like to make it set up right away. So I'm going to go into Layout. Another thing you need to know about PowerPoint is it won't go any smaller than 0.36 for the cells. So this is basically the smallest we can get it. And so let me just show you. I'm going to put this one here, copy, paste, and then paste. And it really doesn't fit on our page. So we'll have to do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. We'll do 6 on this page and then 6 on the next page. Some of you are thinking, well, why don't we just make it a picture? And I'm going to show you how that doesn't quite, we could do it right now. So let's copy and then put it as a picture. That's great. And then we can shrink it, no problem. This would be perfect if you're going to KDP and people are just going to enter the dates and whatnot. So that works. But if you're trying to make this as a PLR where you want people to edit this, or for Etsy, it's not going to work. Okay? So let me delete this out and return to the first one. Now we're going to look at our month. The top is just the month. So I'm going to highlight it, right click. Let's do it again. Highlight it, right click, and merge. Cool. The next one is Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. You could do Monday through Sunday or whatever, but we're just going to copy this one. We could put S or SU. So let's put SU, which doesn't fit, which means we're going to have to make it a little larger. Do we want to do that? It's up to you. I do not. So let's do this. Sunday. At this point, we're going to change the color. So I'm going to highlight everything if I can. We're going to go into Table Design, and we're going to go all the way up until we see this, and there we go. And so there is our month design. You can, of course, change the fonts. So let me do this. We'll go to Home, whatever you want for your font. One thing to remember, though, so let's look at this font. I'm going to center it. It's kind of stuffed in there. It doesn't look really great. So some will look really great, some won't. If it doesn't look really great, you may need to make these boxes a little larger. So all you have to do is highlight and layout. And then instead of 0.36, maybe 0.4 and 0.4. It's really up to your personal preference. But I really like when my squares are square instead of a rectangle. But once again, that's up to you. If this is an undated calendar, you won't even fill in the month. So this is all that you have. Let's say I want to fill in the days. So let's do 2020. January 2020 starts on a Wednesday. So I'm just going to put 1. You're going to notice that there's a couple of things happening. Our cells aren't big enough for the double digits. So we're going to highlight everything. And looks like the width is this way. It has to be larger So let's do 4 or 5. Oh, that works. But I want it again to be a perfect square. All right. And when I say perfect square, I mean where the numbers are. I want them to be perfect squares. Let's highlight this because I want the number in the same font. And then we run into another problem. So we're going to need to 0.5. It's going to have to go. Is that going to work? No. Wow. All right, let's make this font smaller. I kind of like everything in the same size, but for this, it's just not going to work. All right, we are going to center it. Okay, so there we go. It's all in the same right font. Looks like these are a bit larger, so let's see what we have. 056. All right. They don't end up in the center, and I hate that. And honestly, I'm not sure. Oh, here we go. There! Yay! Oh, now that's gorgeous. If this is for 2020, of course, I could put January here. And then make it the same font. Okay. Might want to make it a little bigger. Center it. All right. And there you go. We don't need this row. Highlight, right click, delete row. And there you go. There's January. Because of the font, you're going to notice that January is really big on this page. This is an 8.5 by 11. If we right click, copy, now you're going to see something interesting happen. Right click, paste. We're going to shrink it up, and now we can put a whole bunch on here. Wow! So here's January, we can put February, March, April, May, June, whatever you like. Sometimes this doesn't work though, and sometimes it does. Another thing that you need to be concerned about is, are these numbers too small to see? I'm going to delete that. One thing I do not like about calendars that already have the dates in them is it's only good for a year. And then all that work you did to create the planner is kind of out. You have to redo all of the calendar parts. So really try to stay away from that. If you're doing a PLR or for Etsy, let the person who purchases the product decide what they want to do. So what I'm going to do now is I'm just going to delete all of these numbers because I don't like it. And I'm going to delete this. Okay. Another thing to remember, if this is for Etsy and you say it's editable, you need to make sure that the person can click in these spaces. Also, what I would do is I would just make a generic font. You could do one of these, or I like to do mine in Century Gothic because then they can edit it again to whatever font they like. So we're going to right click, copy, right click, paste as an image. We can shrink it up, no problem, but now when a person tries to edit it, they can't click in the boxes. Now this is okay for KDP if you're making a book that the person is going to basically write in. This is perfect. This is great. And copy, paste, and there you go. You can even, shrink it up as far as you want. You just have to think, hey, if this is me and I print this or I get this in a book, can I make my numbers in those boxes so that they're legible? So now let's recap for a second. If you want things to be editable, you need to make sure that you leave it in a table. Now for this one, I'm going to have to insert another row below because remember, in 2020, we have a couple months that need 6 weeks. And then we're going to highlight this. Make sure that they're all perfect. And there you go. You're probably saying, well, why don't we try to make it smaller? Well, let's try. 0.25. And you're going to notice that it's not going to work. It just doesn't like it. And that's about as good as you're going to get right there. And copy. I want this to be editable so that if I do decide to make a dated calendar, super easy. I just go in and do my thing. And that's what I recommend. Don't make these images unless you're going to be selling them in like a KDP book. 5, 6. We're going to have to bring it up because it's kind of hitting my... Okay. Let's bring it over a little bit. So my binding is on the right here. You might want to write in my planner, my year planner, the year is, and the person can put their own in there. Copy, paste, and we're going to bring it over, and then once again you could put whatever over here. So that's basically how I make my calendar templates. I hope you find this interesting and helpful. And the only way to get really good at it is to practice, practice, practice. Thank you.